The humble 410 shotgun shell. These things are a staple of gun culture. For many years, it has been highly regarded in its ability to be configured to take multiple different types of game. Highly regarded as a great beginner cartridge for people starting out in the hunting world with shotgun and clay pigeon shooting. All around a great cartridge. But the very interesting thing about this is its introduction into the personal defense market in recent years. Because, as many people know, 410 in some cases can also be used in the same firearm as 45 Long Colt. We actually touched on this in a recent video on the Rossi Tuffy, which is a single shot shotgun that is rifled that I believe is probably one of the most versatile shotguns on the planet, and firearms in general on the planet. But today I kind of want to take a look at something else a little different, because after that video I kind of got to thinking, what is the most versatile handgun on the planet? Oh boy, I think I'm gonna let my inner FUD out on this one. If it ain't a 45, it ain't enough. That's the Lord's caliber. I think that everybody thought that I was gonna go with the Rossi Brawler, but when there's so many different models of these things available, how could I? Welcome back, everybody. I'm Adam, AKA the Hot and Fuzzy, and today we're gonna be talking about the Taurus Judge. Oh, hey there. You know, the Taurus Judge is a really interesting firearm. These things started out in 2006, and there's actually many different models of these things. The original models that came out were made of all stainless and solid metal. But in the most recent years, the more popular actual models, I believe, have been the Public Defender series. And that's what this one is. This is actually one of the new Public Defender polymer models. This is the gray one. And these have been specifically marketed kind of in the self-defense market. The original ones were kind of more versatile hunting type marketed handguns, but these are more self-defense applied. They have a polymer frame, 2 3/4 inch chambers. See, a lot of the other models like the Public Defender and the original, some of them have a 3-inch barrel, as well as like the Raging Judge. And the Raging Judge is an entity of itself. You can also chamber 454 Casull in that firearm, which that one I think is actually a super versatile thing, being able to chamber 454 Casull, 45 Long Colt, 45 Schofield, and 410 shells in all of that is an amazing amount of versatility. But the Public Defender itself is a pretty cool firearm. Like I said, these things have been around since about '06, and they've been through a lot of iterations. This is an absolutely hated gun by the internet, though. People that have them tend to love them. But there's a lot of stigma attached to these things, a lot of like the skies and high points that we're all familiar with and love hating on. People say a lot of things about these things, like if you own one of these, you're a wannabe weed dealer, or you drive a V6 muscle car. Hey, don't show them that. Don't show them that. But anyway, there is a lot of stigma attached to these guns, and I kind of want to dismiss a lot of that today. Like I said, I think that the Raging Judge is probably the actual most versatile one, but I wanted to include this one because this is the one that's always kind of been on my radar. The Public Defender with that short barrel and being made of polymer would be an excellent little just car gun or something like that, because it won't rust. And I've always just found them really interesting. There's a lot of myths about these things. People say they're not accurate. The spread is extremely wide on them, which I believe that, and we're going to test both of those things here today. But the first thing that I want to show you guys is a little bit about the versatility of this thing. I've just got a pocket full of a bunch of different types of loads. And the coolest thing about this thing is that you can use it for different applications. I think one great use for this thing outside of the self-defense and stuff is just as a snake gun on the farm or something like that. And that's just another neat use for these things. These things have brought a lot of cool lineage in the Taurus line. I think that some other cool options that they have is like the Raging Hunter. Isn't that a cool name? Don't you not want one of those after you? A Raging Hunter? But those are chambered in 460 Magnum, 454 Casull, 44 Magnum, 357, and even 500 Magnum. And that's the cheapest 500 mag you can get. But anyway, what we're gonna do first is start out with some different versatile loads out of this thing. First thing I want to do is with Birdshot. Oddly enough, this thing is still considered a pistol because it has a rifled barrel in every state but California. But one thing to note about it is that the rifling is a little bit different. It doesn't catch quite as good as normal traditional rifling does. So apparently it doesn't stabilize those 45 Colt rounds as well. It's made to kind of mitigate an in-between point for like the 45 Colt shells, being able to allow them to come out but not spread too wide and still stabilize the bullets. So we're gonna find out if that accuracy is still on par. But first thing we're gonna do is start out with some Birdshot, and the first thing I'm gonna do is start out light. I got these cute little Federal Birdshot shells. They're number 8. But the first thing we're gonna do is start out light. I got these Federal number 8 Birdshot shells. Put a couple of those in there. And see what's going on up close. Like a lot of people say, this is apparently a good snake gun. So let's see what we can do up close here. Give it a good stance here. Shoot this clay pigeon right here in the front. Boy, that smoked him. Okay, that worked out pretty good. Get the other one on that steel plate back there. Wow, that is an incredibly wide spread. We're gonna have to test that on some paper here in a minute. Those don't kick too bad, but it does recoil. I'd say those kick pretty good. About like a stout, 357 load out of something like this. It's a pretty stout load. But let's move up in the shotgun world territory. I'm gonna go with some high brass Winchester. These are, 2.5 inch, 7.5 shot, 2 3/4 inch shells. We'll load a couple of these in here. Lock that in. All right. Now let's see. Let's go for that top clay pigeon there. I think these are gonna have a little more oomph to them. The spread is so wide. I think a couple of those went through that clay pigeon, but they did not crack it. Let's fire the next one at it. Actually, I'm gonna do this one one-handed. See if I can handle the recoil. These 410 shells kick quite a bit. Wow. Yeah, you can see we hit the steel target back there. Stuff swinging. That is an incredible spread on that thing. I want to try some defensive ammo, because I think that what these things really shine in isn't those Birdshot shells. That really isn't what this thing is for. That's just playing around with the most cheap thing you can really shoot out of this thing. The serious application for this thing would be something like these Hornady critical defense loads. These are a 40 caliber HST bullet with 2 double-aught buck rounds underneath of it. So let's see what these do. I'm gonna put one of these in, and I'm pretty sure this is gonna kick pretty hard. So let's send this bad boy at that 2 liter there. It's hitting a little to the left, I believe, so we're gonna give it a right hand hold. Oh, I missed. Yeah. Wow, that busted that thing apart. I think those are actually holding a pretty tight group. As you can see, that's quite a bit of good hydrostatic shock on that thing. I'm gonna test those though here in a few minutes on a paper target though, and really see what that does here. Wait! This video is sponsored by me, the Hot and Fuzzy. Guys, I just want to take a quick second to thank you guys for such an amazing year. We've gained so many new subscribers to the channel and so many new faces. It really is amazing. And I really want to take this moment to appreciate all of you guys and say thank you to all of you. It's really amazing to see all of you come forth and encourage me to do what I love. This is really a dream come true, being able to do this for you guys. And I really genuinely appreciate it. You can follow us on our other social media pages if you want to. We have a Patreon, Facebook, and Instagram up for the channel, just if you want to check those out. But once again, I just want to thank each and every one of you for watching today's video. Now back to the video. Whoa, that was pretty cool. All right, let's move on a little bit. Let's move on to some solid projectiles. I've got in my pocket here a couple, I believe these are HSM cowboy loads. These are 200 grain solid lead, and these are great because the guy on the box looks like the type of FUD that I aspire to be someday. So these things burn like cowboy loads, lots of smoke, lots of pyro, lots of fun. So let's try one of these out. Solid lead, so who knows, could be good for bear protection. I don't know, it being a cast lead bullet. Actually, let's test that. Let's try it on that other 2 liter. Oh, yeah! That was a good one. All right. See if we can make him skip. Oh, man, them 45 Colts, even though those don't kick too hard, those shells don't. We're gonna save our breath. This stuff's expensive. Let's move it up on the power factor a little bit. These, I think, have the same kind of load, but they have a heavier bullet. These are some Ammo Inc. 250 grain. These are copper jacketed lead cores. So let's see if we can hit anything with these. I got a couple of steel plates here. Let's see if we can hit that yellow plate over there. Like I said, I think I'm shooting a little to the left with this thing. I haven't really adjusted the sights much. Let's go for that one. Wow! That messed his day up. All right, we got one more. Let's try out this double action trigger. I've only done single action so far. Yeah, I definitely pulled that one. I pulled it down. As you can see, we were able to cycle through all of those different loads, no problem. I was loading them just one at a time. I will say, and we'll demonstrate this, it's kind of hard to fire a whole cylinder of shotgun shells through this thing and then eject them, because the shotgun shells specifically want to stick. I haven't had any issues firing the 45 Colts a full cylinder of 5 with it, but when you fire a full cylinder of 5 out of this thing, of the 45 Colt round, or when you fire a full cylinder of 5 of the 410 shells, they want to stick when you're ejecting. So that's one thing to keep in mind of when you're loading this thing with defensive 410 shells. Even the good 410 shells, it seems like, want to stick in these things. But actually, I mean, we can show that. Barely did it that time. Especially when you fire a 45 Colt through this thing. It really wants to stick with those shells sometimes. Oh, I think I just lost my rear sight. I don't know how I did it, but I found the rear sight. Almost flew into oblivion. If I'd fired one more shot, it would have. You know what? For the rest of the video, I think I can keep my aim point. I'm just gonna keep that off of there. Also, a little note I want to make here in post. You kind of want to be careful what loads that you fire out of the Public Defender polymer. See, 45 Colt Plus P is not SAMI rated, and I actually accidentally picked up this box of DPXs when I got the Judge, not really paying attention. These are 45 Colt Plus P, and as you can see, they're loaded to 1,200 feet per second. You really don't want to fire anything out of the Judge. I'd say that's in that weight range more than like 900 feet per second, because it is going to put excessive pressure on that chamber. I believe that there are certain models of the Judge that could handle these, but you definitely would not want to fire them out of the Public Defender poly. There's been a deer back here the whole time we've been filming. Hey. 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 You're not in a safe place. We're filming. Hey. Did you not hear us shooting? Oh, you're cute. Another interesting thing to note about the Judge is actually how it got its name. It got the name from the vice president of the company after he heard about judges in Miami, Florida, in high crime areas, carrying these things for personal defense in their courtrooms. Can you imagine? Freeze, Scarface! Okay, so as you can see there, we kind of lost our rear sight. I could put it back on there and tighten it down, but honestly, I don't think I'm gonna worry about it because I'm afraid it's gonna get launched into oblivion anyway. I kind of know where to aim anyway with this thing because that rear sight really isn't that great anyway. It just kind of closes that notch a little bit. Even without it, you still have a little bit of a notch there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go for it, and we're gonna try to dispel a little bit of the myth that these things keyhole and don't shoot 45 Colt well at all. I have pulled bullets out of our tire stacks here that I fired out of this thing, and I can see rifling marks on it. I haven't seen any keyholes in paper so far shooting this thing, so I fired probably about 100 rounds out of this thing so far since I've owned it, and it hasn't keyholed to my knowledge so far, but we'll give that a test right here. We're gonna fire a 5-round group at our target here. I think I know where to hold, so let's just give this a shot here. Got a target on our old water heater here. Let's test out this single action trigger here. Okay, getting a little low actually. New point of aim with this sight being blown off, I think. Okay. Wow, those have kind of been about a fist-sized group so far. We got 3 there. Or those 2 are on top of each other. Okay. Looks like we're hitting a little low. I had 1 pull. We'll take a closer look at that group here in just a second, but before we do, I want to fire a couple of more loads at this target to kind of give us a better idea of what this thing does with a couple different loads. The next thing I think that this load, the next one that I'm going to do, is probably what is going to be most likely people are going to be carrying in something like this, either like a 45 Colt defensive load or something like a Hornady critical defense or like a PDX-1 Defender. A Hornady critical defense is a 40 caliber hollow point, I believe. It's a 40 caliber polymer nosed hollow point, and then it's got 2 double-aught buckballs behind it. So we'll load one of these in and see how tight it shoots at 10 yards. 10 yards, I think, is a pretty good defensive distance. I'm going to hold this one on that bottom right target. Let's see where this hits. Man, those things kick hard. All right. We'll take a look at that here in a second and see where those balls landed. It looks like our round hit just to the right of the target. And last but not least, I'm just going to throw a high brass Birdshot shell in here. This is a Winchester 2.5-inch high brass 7.5 Birdshot shell. I just want to see what the spread is like at a defensive distance like this. That would have to be a surgeon's worst nightmare anyway. I don't know if it would be lethal, but let's just see what it would do here. Wow, I heard stuff bouncing everywhere. Huh. All right, let's step up there, take a look and see how we did. Okay, so we got a lot going on this target right here. The first 5 shots we fired, my point of aim was right here because I thought that it was going to hit to the left because that's where it's been shooting today. But where we lost that sight, I think our point of aim shifted. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Must have pulled that one. Who knows? It could have been destabilized, but we got a pretty decent group there. If you count these 4 and not that flyer that I pulled, I'm not the greatest revolver shooter in the world. I don't have near as much experience shooting big bore revolvers as I have shooting semi-autos. So take that for what it's worth. But I do think that we've got actually not a bad handgun group. It isn't like we're shooting all over or missing. It isn't like you're gonna miss your target shooting at him with 45 Colt, as long as you know where to aim. I think beyond 50 yards, like any other handgun, that sight is so big and everything that it doesn't really matter anyway. You're going to be using this in close range anyway, if this is what you decide to use. A 45 Colt hollow point delivers a lot of energy. But moving on, we'll take a look and see where that 410 Hornady went. It looks like our round hit here just right of the target. And I believe that these 2 are our balls, judging by what it did here and the damage difference here. It looks like our balls kind of separated and they stayed close together, but they went left the target. And it's kind of odd. I've seen like shooting these things, it seems kind of random. Those balls seem to stay together and trail, but they will separate from that thing. And that's just something you want to keep in mind when you're shooting a gun like this or using it for defense. You want to have, you got to keep that spread in mind for precision shots, because if you got a situation where you've got to hit something that's close to something you don't want to hit, you got to keep that in mind, because you're always going to have that spread, because that's still going to be lethal projectiles. And also, big thing I'm noticing is moving on to that Birdshot shell we fired. We have got a spread that pretty much covers the entire height of this water heater. I mean, we've got pellets all the way down here, all the way up top. We got pellets out to the side. We got a bunch on the front, some close to the bullseye. So it definitely would have peppered you, but none of these even penetrated the outside skin of this water heater. And it takes a lot to penetrate this thing. None of those rounds actually went through, I believe, even those 45 rounds. But that just kind of gives you a visual representation of how the Judge kind of performs. You may have also noticed that we didn't shoot any buckshot through this thing in this video. And I really wanted to, and I'm sorry about that, but I went to about 4 or 5 different gun stores when I was getting all the stuff together to make this video and get all the shells and everything. Between this video and the Rossi Tubby video, I've been to quite a few stores around here looking for some double-aught Bucks 410 shells, and they're kind of hard to come by. And the thing about them is that they're going to have a pretty wide spread anyway, if they're not like the boutique personal defense loads like the ones that Federal and Winchester have. So if you just got like normal double-aught buck shells that have like the 3 pellets that aren't the magnums with the nice wads, you're just going to still have quite a wide spread that you can probably assume is going to be about as wide as we got with the Birdshot anyway. Not really something that I would pick for defense out of something like this. Personally, for me, I would pick something like the 45 Colt hollow points, a 250 grain hollow point that's not overloaded, or something like the PDX Defender load, or those Hornady critical defense loads. Those things are awesome because you've got that hollow point and those 2 double-aught buck balls behind it. So in conclusion, is the Taurus Judge a bad gun? No, absolutely not. I actually think that these things are really great in their own right. I don't think they're the perfect carry firearm by any means. They're not really perfect in any regard, but they do a little bit of everything quite well as far as the handgun world. They'll fire big defensive loads, they'll fire birdshot, you can use it as a snake gun, a defensive gun. I'm always going to go toward my semi-auto, like a Glock 19, 17, just any other semi-auto that you can carry. But these things really do have a special place in my heart because of that versatility, especially when you get into the iterations of this thing like the Raging Judge. I mean, I really genuinely think that is probably the most versatile handgun on the planet, this included. I mean, I had a commenter comment on one of my videos and mention these things, and I was really debating on making a video about either this or the Rossi Brawler, which is the pistol version of the Tuffy, which I did that video on here recently. But I evolved more toward the Judge because I had shot a couple of these when I was younger, and I've always really liked these things, especially the polymer one, because they just fill a really wild niche. The only other thing that's really like this is the Smith & Wesson Governor, and it is a little bit higher quality, better of a gun. And you have little things like I had my rear sight fly off and oddball stuff like that, but the thing functions great. I mean, it's got a really heavy double action trigger. The single action trigger is okay. I mean, but that front sight is really bright, and for me anyway, it seems to have decent accuracy for a big handgun like this. You got this stubby grip on these, and you can get better grips for these things that are way better than this little thing. And I think if you did that, it would help you get a better grip on this thing and be able to get a better just single action pull on it. And I think having that longer barrel and some of the other models and stuff would help, especially on the Raging Judge. So I think in its own right, if you get past all the biases, the Taurus Judge is a really unique and cool firearm. I appreciate you guys watching today's video. It's really nice to be able to get back into the swing of doing things. I had a great 2024 year getting back into the swing of things, making these new videos for you guys. It's been great. I really appreciate all your guys' support. So thank you guys once again for watching. Thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up on the attack. Baby